gosh, that caught me unawares. Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. It's wonderful to be here. Very exciting. We hope you're enjoying the lovely weather that we're having. We've got a really special guest tonight, someone you may not be aware of, one of our new OM System ambassadors. And we've got a really interesting show. So firstly, welcome. Please let us know where you're hailing from. I'm going to put a little ticker up at the bottom. Thanks for joining us. Say hello. It's always good to get some engagement, and I love the fact that you all talk to each other. That makes me very happy. Joining our OM System family. Tonight we're going to have, as I said, an unusual guest, a new guest, one you're seeing. Hopefully you'll be seeing a fair bit more for the rest of the year. He is an amazing photographer. And we're going to have a quick, long look at some images. Whilst we're just sort of doing our usual sort of chats, I have started a poll. The poll is asking whether you are an OM System or Olympus user. We always like to see if we're having new people come to our channel. And the other thing is, if you like what you see, give us a like and subscribe, because that really helps. That helps build the channel, it helps build the community, and it also allows us to, give feedback as to what you want, what you'd like to see. Put it in the comments. Are there any things that you think that we could do on YouTube? Any more sort of tutorials or workshops or guests? So we're always open to feedback. Okay. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce you to our wonderful OM System, Ben Barendrecht. Hey, Ben.
Hello.
Hello. Did I pronounce that right, Barendrecht?
Yeah, it's Barendrecht, but you're close.
It's close enough. It's a lovely name. It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, thank you.
So firstly, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's obviously, although we've had lots of communication, we've never actually met in person, have we? So I'm really thrilled that you're on our channel tonight.
We're also pretty far away from each other. We're from north to south of the island.
I'm literally nearer to France than any other place in England. And you are, where are you based at the moment? Right, exactly now. Where are you?
Right now, I'm in Glencoe, the mountains of Glencoe in the Scottish Highlands.
Beautiful
place.
Beautiful. And how's the weather been? Has it been beautiful? Is there lots of midges yet? Because I know Scotland gets quite midgified.
Yeah, the midget has started last week. But the last, I would say, 9 weeks, it's been really good weather, really dry. We had a bit of lack of rain, which is also not good for the landscape as well.
Sure.
But apart from that, it was good for the soul to have some sunshine, because normally we get a bit of sunshine and then 5 minutes later we get rain, and then 5 minutes later we get sunshine again. So
you've got to be pretty hardcore to live how you live, because obviously I can see that you've got some lovely fairy lights and it all looks very nice, but you actually have like a big van. You live on the road, don't you? So you travel from place to place. I mean, that must make your photography not easy, but much more exciting, because you could just pick up and drive and go, right?
Yes, yeah, it's really nice to live in a van and just to be able to go anywhere you want. And sometimes I don't plan anything for photography. I'll just be there and see what happens. So you just wake up every day in the morning. If at the moment the sunrise at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I'll just wake up, open the curtains. Shall I go out or not?
And I think it's really interesting, this, because I love landscape photography. I'm not very good at it, but also I'm so far down south that actually sort of the mountains that beckon in Scotland and things like that are such a long trek. So when I want to think about landscape, I've got to plan. I've got to plan the day, I've got to plan the week, I've got to work out my travel, and then you can never be guaranteed with the weather. I'm sure with you can just open the curtains and go, yeah, looks like a day for photography today.
Yeah, basically, it's I feel very lucky to be in this place, and very privileged to be among the mountains and photograph them, and just explore around.
I'm so excited to show people some of your images. So firstly, I'm going to say a few hellos. We've got a nice evening going today. We have Terry from Ontario and Mark from a miserable Suffolk. Hey, Mark. We've got Bedfordshire. We've got Canada. John from Canada. and we have Wilder from Bavaria. We have Stephen from Maryland in the US and Texas, David from Texas in the US. We've got Melanie from Michigan and Alan from a wet New York in the UK, not New York, the old
Not New
York.
York.
So I love the fact that we have a really amazing international audience. And
Yes.
you know, why don't we jump in and show an image? I've got to remember what I'm doing here. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done a live, so bear with me, peoples. I'm going to jump straight into an image and let's talk about it, shall we? Oh, hang on. I've got to, I've got to do the right. Remember what I'm doing. Hey, there we go.
Find them.
And ta-da! Now, I am mesmerized by this image, the light that is captured on that mountain, but it seems like you are so high up in the sky. Talk to me, tell me everything from start to scratch about this image.
Yes. So firstly, I want to say something about the geological part of Scotland is that what's amazing that everyone joins around the world, and Scotland is known for having different, when there used to be one geological island in Northwest used to be part of America, parts of Canada, and the Northeast would be parts of Norway, and Denmark, and the South would be in the equator. So what's really interesting about Scotland is that it has every single part of the world within the landscape, and Scotland is quite big. It's not as big as some other mountain regions. So potentially a lot of people will recognize some of these shapes in the mountains and they might feel like they're at home. So this particular image is actually right behind me.
Wow.
So it's called the Buchel Etive Moor. It's the most popular mountain in Glencoe. But if you look at this image, you wouldn't really recognize it because it looks like we're very high up and the cloud is
Yes.
just shrouding the mountains. And it was a wild day. And I think you can see that from the cloud behind, that it was a very windy, snowy day. Like the view would appear for 1 minute and then just disappear. And then every minute the mountain would look different and the light would look different. So there was no image the same. So it's very difficult to just choose one when you shoot like 20 or 30 images of the same mountain. But yeah, there was so much snow just coming down, and there was an inversion as well. Normally, if you have an inversion, you're either above it or you're below it. But here there was two, so there was one below me and one above me, which shows on the image.
So tell me about photographing this image. I mean, how do you approach this type of photography? I mean, the weather is quite worrying. How long, you know, I mean, obviously you've got to think about safety and staying up there and the weather coming in and that sort of thing. But then
Yes.
at what point do you say, am I going to use a wide lens? Am I going to use a telephoto? Sort of what's your approach?
Yeah, so this location is approximately 3 hours of hiking, and you can imagine when there's snow, there's a lot of wading through snow, which is very difficult. So that means you have to be very prepared for these sort of conditions, which can be clothes, your crampons, ice axe, and having the knowledge to be out in the mountains and in the
Right.
snow, just the basic knowledge. And then when I went to this location, I generally don't
Oh,
being out in
yeah.
the mountains, and then when it represents itself, this is where I am ready to take a photo. And so a lot of the time it really depends on what the distance is of the mountain and how pointy it is, or how dramatic, or how close I want it to be. So this particular instance, I used a 40 to 150 f4 lens.
Nice lens.
And
Nice lens. That's on
yeah,
cashback at the moment, by the way, guys.
yeah,
It's on £200
very,
cashback in the UK and
very
instant save in
lightweight.
the US. Beautiful little travel lens, right?
Yes. There won't be any other brand that would have this size for that focal range. And yeah, for hiking, every gram matters. Like
Right.
even 100 gram matters a lot on your back. So having this piece is amazing. So I used that for this image. And yeah, when I saw it just being sandwiched between two clouds, it just looked amazing. I pointed the camera at it, and nature represented itself. And sometimes that just happens. You can plan something, it will never work out. And then sometimes you don't plan and it just all comes together.
And do you use like high res mode, or do you use aperture priority? Do you, because obviously you've got all of it in focus, so are you opening up? I mean, what's your sort of aperture, or how, what's your thought or take on the sort of technical side for this image?
Yeah, I use quite a lot of high res mode, but for this particular image, I didn't, because the clouds were moving so fast, which was actually, I do have an image of it. So when I used the high res mode, it actually looked like the cloud was moving. It was smoothing it out, but I want to keep that texture. So on this particular
Yes.
day, we must have had 60 miles an hour wind. So that cloud would have just shifted over before you even could take a photo of it.
Wow.
So, you know, sometimes you have to think about whether, you know, if the 50 megapixel makes sense, if you know, if
Yes.
it takes time, you know, it like the OM3, for example, only takes a second to
Yeah.
make that. But this
Yeah.
particular is that I really want to keep the texture in the cloud.
Yeah. And do you sort of do like landscape rules where you're shooting like f11, so everything's in focus, or do you sort of stick to a sort of certain type of setting, or are you just
Yeah,
thinking sometimes you want the foreground in focus, sometimes the background, and does it sort of vary?
yeah. I liked everything to be in focus most of the time. So for telephoto lenses, which I use for this particular photo, you don't have to go for a higher number or a lower number,
Right,
depending on who you talk
right.
to. So this one was particularly shot on f4. So everything would have been perfectly in focus because everything was way further away. I think the next mountain must have been a mile away. So you can imagine how far I stood away from it, and then getting closer with. And then for in the next images, I can talk about which apertures I use to get everything in focus and what
Yeah.
techniques I use for it.
Okay, right, let's have a look. So, if you're watching, thank you for joining us tonight. Please say hello in the comments. If you don't know Ben, or if you haven't seen Ben before, please come and ask a few questions. I will pop Ben's Instagram in the ticker tape, so you can follow him along there. Excuse me, itchy nose. So there's the Instagram, nice and easy. It's Benjamin Barendrecht, so it's nice and easy. And let's take another look. I've got to make sure I'm producing the. Hey, wow. Tell us about this image. Now, that is gorgeous.
Thank you. So this is the Fisherfield area in Scotland. For the people who don't know Fisherfield is regarded as the most remote place in Scotland. So it has we call it, so there's a certain type of mountains we call the Munros in Scotland, and they're above a certain height. And
Okay.
this is one of them in Scotland, and it's a very long mountain to get to. So you'll be talking about, to get to this mountain, I think is roughly 26 to 28 kilometers one way.
Whoa. By land?
One way by land, yes.
Wow. I
So you
suppose
have
you could
to
go by water.
I mean, you could technically, yeah.
But then
So
you're
if you
going to
look
leave
at
your
the
boat
far
somewhere.
edge, yeah, if
Wow.
you look at the far edge of the water, all the way in the end, that's where you start your hike to get to
Whoa.
this place. So yeah, it's a magnificent mountain. Um, Sorry if I missay the name. It's called, the mountain's called Avajan. It's called the Maiden in English.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a gorgeous mountain. I even lost my engagement ring on this mountain.
It's still up there, is it? It's still up
It's
there.
somewhere within the landscape. The maiden took it.
Oh, that's hilarious. I mean, I know it's not hilarious, but that is unbelievable. I mean, and again, talk to me about OM1, OM3, OM5. What sort of, which body are you using here? Because I know you've got
So
a
yeah,
plethora of OM cameras.
yeah, I got the OM5 and I got the OM3. This particular is OM3. So this has only been taken 6 weeks ago, so it's quite recent, this photograph. And yeah, when I was scouting around the area, what's really difficult at first when you get to a location like this, the view is amazing, and trying to trying to capture that view is not easy, especially in the mountains. The mountains is it's just a very messy landscape. So trying to tell the story within the landscape can be quite difficult. So you're looking for rocks that fit within the landscape, the story. So what I always approach, or what I do on the approach, is what makes this place special. That is obviously the lake in the distance, the sunset obviously setting, and then you have the mountains, and then any of the rocks and the grass in the foreground. So trying to align that all perfectly can be very tricky, but once you get it, it's like putting all the puzzle pieces together. You get this image that you just see.
Wonderful. Sorry, my dog's having a coughing fit, so I hope you can't hear it. I will talk over her. We have a question from Pruone. Apologies if I haven't pronounced that properly. Hello from Prague. Hello, Prague. I have a quick question. How do you back up your photos on longer hikes and trips? I don't want to take the laptop with me. And with an EM10 Mark IV, I have no option to use 2 SD cards. I suppose if you've got a van, it's a little bit easier for you because you back them up every day. But what if you don't have? What about when you go on holiday and you've got a 2-week trip?
Yes. Well, if you think about this image, it was a 3 to 4 day hiking trip. So it's a very long trip as well. You could use additional SD readers that you could then obviously take it onto your SSD. But personally, I never carry anything with me. I just leave everything on a memory card. I have heard stories of people losing their photos, but I've never had the issue. So luckily I haven't. So I just take the photos. I've been on 8-day trips, 2 weeks trips, and they just sit there. And with the Olympus camera, I don't think there's ever been an issue of losing the photos. So touch wood. I hope that will happen in the future.
SD cards have that recovery option as well, don't they? Because literally it's just a codec sort of type format. But it is the thing about this type of photography is, like you said, every gram matters. Every 20 grams, 50 grams, 100 grams, because the other stuff you're carrying is food, shelter, the things that sort of keep you alive and healthy, not the camera, because obviously it does make a huge difference, doesn't it? And okay, so let's have we've got another question from Mike. Hello, Michael. Michael says, I'd like to hear any tips you have for carrying your camera while hiking. I have the OM5 and a Peak Design clip, but I'm worried that it might be too much stress on the tripod mount. Do you get your camera in and out of the bag, or is it there ready for action? What's your feelings?
Yeah, so one thing I have to mention, every single photograph you'll see today is handheld taken. I don't use tripods at all. And that's one of the reasons why I initially went with Olympus
OMSYSTEM.
Because when I was just a bit tired of carrying my tripod, and the tripod can be 1.2 kilograms just for a lightweight one. So you can imagine that's quite a lot of weight. So that, first of all, everything is handheld, and I just carry everything on the camera strap. So it's either in my camera bag or just in my hiking bag. And if not, I use a strap for it, because I find when I use a strap, I'm a lot more how do you call that, versatile? Versatile. Just to like take it out, to take a photo, and just put it back on and just keep hiking. I've used clip design, big clip designs as well. It's really good, but I just liked it when it was on the sides and I could just quickly put it down, and it was a bit. It felt a bit more one with the camera while it was being with me.
So, okay, we've had a few comments to put your Instagram back up, which I have done. So make sure you give Ben a follow. We'll give you some more information as we carry on. Let's talk a little bit about what you carry. So obviously we can talk about the camera stuff, right? We know, I reckon you're going to take the F4 ranges because they're small, they're light, they give you great glass quality. But how much compared to the rest of the weight you're carrying is your camera? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Is it 50%? Like, how much is your camera gear compared to the rest of your backpack?
So I only carry two lenses with me, 8-25 and 40-150 f4 lenses. This
Nice.
is all I use, and it does everything for me. There is a focal length that I'm missing between the 25 to 40, but this is when high res mode comes in. So if I want
Right.
to have anything in between that range, I'll use a high res mode on the 25 mil, and then I can crop in to get the desired focal range.
Oh yeah,
So
good point.
this is really light. Just these two lenses are really light. And with the camera, with the OM5, for example, it probably is about 5 to 10% of the weight of the bag. So which is actually really light.
Yeah,
And
because
then
I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, people who don't do serious hike. I mean, I hike, but I mean, I do
yeah,
like day trips. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm
yeah,
carrying an apple and a bit of lunch and the
yeah,
usual stuff. But I'm not thinking about the serious stuff. But if the camera is only 10%, I mean, that is pretty good, right? I think that's the point, isn't it? To keep it light, to have it as to have your camera to take pictures along the way, but it not doing like a photographic trip, right?
yes, yeah. It's a good all round lens for everything. To be honest, I've done macro with it as well within the landscape. And yeah, it's just amazing to. I used to use other cameras which were way bulkier and wouldn't have the stabilization inside of it. So like I said, I don't use the tripod anymore. And
Right.
I what I really like about these lightweight cameras, they're small, lightweight. It's only a small percentage of my camera back weight. Plus, I can shoot at any time of the day, whether it's low light or even harsh light. I can shoot everything without worrying about it.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about photography. I don't like to think, oh, I'm now on a low shutter speed. I should be having a tripod. I just want to just put my camera, look at it, take a photo, and that's it, regardless
Yeah.
what the shutter speed is. So
Yeah.
some of these photos would have
Yeah.
1/10 of a second or even lower, and they're all sharp.
Wow. Nice, nice.
And that
And
removes that tripod away, which is 1.2
yeah.
kilograms, if not heavier, depending on what you take,
Well, even
which is
even
massive.
even fiber carbon fiber tripods are. It's not even so much the weight; it's the sort of awkwardness of them sometimes, isn't it? Because they even
Yeah,
when they
yeah,
fold down. I've got a little tiny one that I'm using here,
yeah.
but you still got extra weight to carry, and it's the faff, and you have to get it
Mm.
out. And yeah, I mean,
And you have to think about where the weight is sitting, whether it's on the
right,
right or left. And you want to obviously be balanced. So if you have a tripod with you on these longer trips, like 4 to 8 days, if it just constantly sits on the right,
it's
it will
going to
just
start
like
leaning.
lean on you. It can obviously be
Mm,
placed in the back, but that most of the time my tent is sitting there. So, there's a lot of
mm.
compromise. So I personally think it's one of the best hiking cameras. It's waterproof and it's just so lightweight. And you never have to care about you have a low shutter speed. Is this going to be sharp or not?
That is amazing. And we just sort of talked about the 40 to 150 and the 825 f4. Both of those lenses are on £200 cashback at the moment. If you're in the US, I think it's instant save. I can only sort of tell people from where I'm sitting, but I know for sure that in Europe the cashback is about 200-ish euros. So it's really look. I've got a lovely little comment here. Says, wow, the Instagram page images. There you go,
Thank
guys.
you.
It just goes to show if you head over after the show to Ben's Instagram page, you will get an incredible. It will make you want to go out there. It makes you want to go out there and definitely have have some fun with it for sure. Okay, let's have a look at another image, shall we? If I know what I'm doing. Oh, I've got to put it up first. Hang on. There we go. Now, I assume this is Scotland again, is it?
This is Scotland, yes.
Wow. Tell
It
me
very
about
looks
it.
like a lot of mountain ranges in America and Canada, but this mountain is called Anchellach. It's regarded as the most dramatic mountain range of Scotland, and you can probably see from how it looks, it's very dramatic. And this was, yeah, in the middle of winter. We camped on the top of the mountain.
What, the night before?
Yes,
And then got the sunrise.
yes. So we do that a
Wow.
lot. camp on the mountains to maximize to get the sunrise and sunsets, and to be there and experience what the mountain has to offer and
When
experience
you
the
wake
weather.
up. Yeah.
Because often
Yeah.
I find that when you're just going for a day trip, you don't really you get to see the views, but you don't get to experience what makes this place so special. And then you really
Yeah.
take your time and slow down.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
this
I
is
absolutely
why
agree.
a smaller camera is kind of nice, because you forget about that there is a camera, but you have it with you.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, I went to Kitzbühel with the EM5 Mark II launch, I think, and that was incredible because the sun came up in front of us. And although
Yes.
initially we were like, the colours from
Yes.
in Kitzbühel was just absolutely stunning. So, do you prefer sunset or sunrise?
I like both. Both have
Okay.
its unique features when it comes. Um, Sunset tends to have the more red glow you get on the mountains,
Yes.
and then sunrise, you tend to get a more subtle light coming through. So I was recently on the Isle of Rum just a week ago. You'll see one of the photos soon, and at sunrise it lights up the different part of the mountain than sunset, but you can really tell the different, what the light does to the mountain itself.
Yeah. Oh,
The photos there is a sunset. Unfortunately, I don't have the sunrise.
David Turner asks, RAW or JPEG? How much processing do you do? What's the, I mean, you want to do as little as possible, right? So,
Yeah.
you want
So
to keep it as natural as possible too, don't you? To
yes,
capture the original colors. So, yeah.
yes, yeah. So my ethos is to capture as naturally and how you feel towards the landscape. Um, what I do with my OM3, this is not shot with the OM3, but you can do it on the OM5 as well, is to change the colors within the JPEG itself. So while you're out in the field, if you feel like the JPEG on the camera doesn't look the same as you see with your eyes, you can change the white balance,
Yeah.
the white balance hues, the pink, magentas, the blue. So the JPEG that I try to mimic as I would see it as a raw file.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, and
So
just to let viewers know, if you use an OM5 and an EM5, the color is automatically set to vivid. So
yes,
whereas on an OM3 and an OM1, the colors are slightly less and they're not vivid, they're natural. So that does make a difference to people using those two different cameras. So like you
yes.
say, you don't want it to be over pink or over the top. Do you want it to be more natural? So
Yeah. Yeah, so
yeah,
I do mainly use the raw files, because obviously you have way more
way
tools
more
to
detail.
just change well, no, I wouldn't change the colors, but just to like play with it. And
Yeah,
also, naturally, you can't photo for this example, I can't photograph the photo in one image, because the
right.
shadows are way too dark in real life than the light. The light is way brighter. So you need the
Yeah,
raw file to bring the shadows up and to make it look, not too much, so it still looks
yeah.
natural. You
Balance.
can also do that with JPEG, but it's not the same as a raw file.
Yeah, okay. A couple of more questions. A couple of people have said, have you shot any landscapes with the 8mm fisheye? There was another comment down here from Denise saying, I sometimes carry the fisheye. I mean, that's the 8mm 1.8. If you haven't tried it, maybe I should send you one to have a play with. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's super, super wide. You
Um,
can put the compression on, but that's only a JPEG. So,
yes, yeah.
um, but I mean, is that something you would look at doing, sort of fisheye for
Well,
landscape?
if you think about this image, it's shot on 8mm on this, so it should be the same, isn't it? Or is it slightly different?
No, it's a fisheye. So that's the linear.
Okay.
So you're getting a straight
Yeah,
edge,
yeah.
whereas the fisheye is the circular. I mean, it's not something you would use for everything, but
Yeah, I guess for
maybe.
creative purposes, yes, and to
Yes.
try to challenge myself, because
Yeah.
I'm very, how do you call that? I'm very comfortable with my mountain photography. Like I would go
Right.
out and you can send me anywhere, and I just feel comfortable enough to be like, okay, I can create an image regardless of the conditions. And then if you get an 8mm fisheye, I'm like, whoa, I have no idea what to do with this. or if he sent me to the woodlands. I'm like, I have no idea.
Okay, one more question. We'll jump and then we'll have another look at an image. How many batteries do you take with you on your hikes?
So with the OM5, I normally used to take 2 batteries, and that would last me 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
But that also depends on how cold it gets in the mountain.
Yeah.
If it gets colder, it does take longer, or the battery goes quicker. But then I use my pockets to keep the battery warm. So I would shoot maybe for half an hour, and like for example in this image, I would put shoot for half an hour and then change the battery, and then put the other battery back in my pocket to keep it warm, and that will keep the battery longer available for you. So I don't tend to take many batteries, because in the end, a battery is not that heavy either, but then I'm still counting the not calories.
Counting the grams.
Away the grams, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, let's take another look at another image. Oh, again, absolutely stunning. Talk me through this one.
So this is the Isle of Arran. It's a beautiful mountain on the southwest coast of Scotland, and it's a really interesting mountain. When you look at the island from afar, it looks very rounded, but you really have to hike to get to see this dramatic view. So the mountain we're looking at is called Ciavor, and the locals were saying they haven't really seen that much snow on the island because it's on the sea. So it tends to be wetter and warmer than the mainland. And it took me a solid 4 hours through the snow to get to this place. And this is sunrise, and I bivvied the night before. So I didn't take a tent. I just took a bivvy and just put it over my head and just sleep in it. And
absolutely crazy.
I had to obviously keep myself warm, and it was quite challenging the first 2 hours when I put the bivvy up, because the wind was just blowing the snow over my bivvy.
I'd have gone home.
No, I kept on going, and made sure I was comfortable, warm. Like when you have the gear, you'll be safe, and the knowledge. But this is a beautiful place where you look down into the corrie of the mountain where I'm standing on, and then you see on the left distance you see Goatfell, which is the highest point of the island. And it really shows the history of the island, how it's been shaped by volcanic activity and then glaciers. As you can see, it starts from the left where Goatfell is. On the right of it, you see the glen, which is carved by the glacier. And then how do you tell that story? It's very difficult. Light really helps. And then you can place those stones that tell the story of how long they've been in this sort of area. And for this image, it's been quite tricky how to get it. It was very high dynamic range sunrise. So there's a sunrise. And I also had to focus stack. So first of all, I did an exposure bracket, making sure I had the highlights, the mid tones, and the shadows, and then I focus stacked to make sure that the rocks were sharp. So this was a quite technical image to do, but it wasn't any problem. And this is all handheld. You have to imagine I'll be standing with a heavy wind, and I'll be shaking around, and then focus stack and exposure bracket, and making sure the stabilization is so good, it keeps the mountain peaks aligned to where they were from the first to the back end.
And this is the thing about focus stacking, because, a lot of people associate focus stacking with macro, and, we've really been promoting the fact that you can use focus stacking in landscape. And why would you use it? Well, you get better dynamic range, you get better contrast, you get better shadow detail, because you're basically putting images on top of each image. And the other thing is, you don't need to use you can use a really big aperture, like a 1.8 or f2.8, which means everything's going to be in focus. Whereas normally if you shoot 2.8, you're going to lose focus. But it also means you're retaining quality, because the smaller the aperture, the worse your picture quality is, right? You get a degradation of image, don't you, when you start going f16, f22. the image quality drops. So you've got all those things, all those features and tools within the camera. All right, like you said, it is a bit more technical, but to allow not only beautiful focus from front to back, but depth of detail as well. It's just incredible.
Yes. Yeah, this was taken on F-13 to get that sunburst start
First,
around the sun. And
nice.
actually, the 8-25, I think, has like the best sun stars. Like, they're big. A lot of the like equivalent lenses from the brands, they have like a tiny sun star in the back, and I just like it when it's vividly in your face, because that's
Way.
how it feels to you, isn't it? When that sun comes in your face, that first moment, it just feels warm and massive,
And
and
nice.
then the lens capture that beautifully.
Yeah, I've jumped a few questions, but I will go back if I've missed yours. But this one was current to the thing we're talking about. If you're
Yes.
focus stacking in camera for landscapes, what focus differential do you use? Do you start in the middle because you've got two? What do you?
Yeah, it still depends on how close I am to the rock itself. Generally, my most of the time when I take landscapes, I use about 5.6 or 6.2 f6.2, and that's my sort of like f-stop that I usually use for landscapes to get everything sort of in focus. So when I use that 5.6 and 6.2,
6.3,
I
yeah.
will 6.3, yes.
Yeah.
I would normally go about 3 more to the wider, because the more narrow it gets, the more photos it takes. But
Yeah.
personally, I don't want to go to Lightroom and have a lot of photos that I have to
Right.
combine together. So I generally, about 3 to, sometimes I go to 5, just from 5 to 1. That should most of the time do the job. And then I get like sometimes 2 photos, just the foreground and the background, and that's it.
So you
And
need,
sometimes it needs 3. Yeah. Most of the
cool.
time, it's always 2 photos.
I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. The images, like you feel like you're there. They are absolutely stunning. I mean, I am so impressed. Let's take another look at an image and just checking the time. 40 minutes has already gone by. Can you believe
Oh,
that?
wow.
No snow. Oh, well, there's
No
a little bit
snow.
of snow.
A little bit of
Tell me
snow,
about this
yes.
image.
Again, we were camping on this mountain. This mountain is called Ben Egg. For people that live in Scotland, it's quite a well-known mountain for hikers. It's loved by people all over the world, and the views are magnificent. And interesting part about this landscape is it's all eroded by seabeds. So if you look on the right of the mountain, it's just all seabeds, and you can find fossils on top of the mountains. So it's very amazing, and it's believed to be one of the oldest rock types in the world, which is called Torridonian sandstone, which you can see on the left bottom. So while I was, trying to frame this mountain within the distance, again, you have to ask yourself, what makes this scene so special? Why is it so beautiful? Is it the sandstone? Is it the mountain or the seabed? And you try to incorporate all the stories together, and that created this image. I think it's just a single image this time. So that'll be f5.6, just a single image, and it was sharp from bottom to the top. But generally, I also think that I don't really worry about sharpness. Like if something isn't sharp enough on the bottom, I don't care. Like, I've been in the moment. Like, that was what was more important.
Yeah, sometimes being there. This is the thing about the whole philosophy of OM system is, yes, take photography trips. Obviously, we're not saying that, but what we're saying is, like, don't miss out on those moments by watching life through a lens.
Yes.
Be there. It's that whole Cacho Forgetsu thing. It's a Japanese philosophy where, yes, get outside. We are the outdoor brand. We want you to be adventurous and be in nature, but exactly that, be in it. Don't just photograph everything and then look at it all on the screen when you get back. Sit down, stop, breathe, think, smell, listen, all those sounds and all those senses that can be heightened. And whenever I go to do landscape photography, the first thing I do is sit down and just sit down for half an hour. I literally, I'll dump my camera bag down and I'll just sit and I will just get in the zone and just breathe it in, because I think if you just get there, you get your kit out and you're like, what? You're missing the whole point of it, aren't you?
Of being there, yes. And I think this is also why having the no tripod just in general makes a lot of sense in being in the present time. So when you're on this mountain, my camera will be hanging dangling on the side, and I'm really trying to see the story and how it all correlates together, and trying to read how the glens have been created. And then I just pick up the camera afterwards, what you said could be half an hour, an hour, and then try to frame something and take a photo, and I put the camera back down again. I never have to like really trying to put the camera the tripod down and move it about. And then that's what I really like about the image stabilization, that I don't care about what shutter speed I use, and the stabilization is so good that this is like, I think it was also shot at 1/5 of a second, and everything is purely sharp.
Yeah, for sure. So guys, there is cashback and instant offers as we do every sort of couple of times a year. I have put the link into the comments. If you're looking at sort of cashback or looking to go to our online stores, the UK website is under maintenance today, but it will be back up later on. We're just doing a few tweaks tonight. It just happens to have coincided with our session today, but there is a code there if you want to use it. I've got a really good question from Melanie, which we will just keep our eyes on the time. Melanie says, what advice do you have for people new to landscape? So yeah, if I sort of come and said to you, I want to come on one of your workshops, I'm a beginner, what would you do? What would be your first bit of advice for me?
What would be the first advice is probably I would tell my workshop clients or anyone that, why is the landscape so important to you, and why would you like to photograph this? Personally, for me, it's, if you think about these mountains, they've been there for billions of years, and and if you think about 9,000 years ago, we stepped foot on it, and I'm part of that history. Right. And that makes me really want to photograph it. So I'm asking myself, why do I want to photograph the landscape? Is it just because it's just a pretty place, or do you feel connection to it? Does it speak to you? And I think when you try to explore that, this is when photography becomes more than photography. It's about being within these places and create your own memory, create your own journey of time within the mountains, and whatever you're going to capture, you're not going to photograph again the next day. It will never be the same again. The landscape can change. So the best advice is to explore yourself of why do you want to be within the landscape, and then find out. And you might find out that the answer is that you love the sea. Why do you love the sea? Maybe you spend your childhood within the sea and you have a deeper connection with it. And then once people are trying to understand that, their photography improves just by trying to figure out themselves of why they like this photograph.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. Again, going back to that point of when you get to somewhere, sit and take it in. Look at where the light's falling. Look at where the shadows are falling. Look where the wind is coming from. Like, take in those natural elements and let them soak in before you even get the camera out, right? I mean, that's what I do. I just find that if you're more at one with the landscape, you sort of feel it. I know that sounds a little bit kooky, but I definitely feel that that's the thing. Lisa says, just tuned in. Did you mention how you carry your camera just on the strap, Lisa? Was it a Peak Design or a shoulder strap that you use?
I've used both. I use both. But most of the time, it depends on what sort of vertical incline I'm going up. If it's like a really steep terrain, I would use a Peak Design clip. But if it's more of a longer, like a less steeper incline, I tend to use my camera strap, so it doesn't dangle around. So if I'm having to use my hands to climb up the rocks and scramble, then my camera wouldn't be dangling around, or it would just be in the backpack.
That is true. Okay, let's jump on to the next image. Oh, wow. That's so amazing. Look at the colors. I mean, as you guys know, I always try to not look at the images before the show because I want to be wowed. So I had to rack these images up without looking at them. And again, this is stunning. Whereabouts is this one?
So this is quite close to me, probably a 10 hour, it's a 10-hour
Okay.
drive, 10-minute
Yeah.
drive. And yeah, it's called Binyan Beg. So it's actually close next to Ben Nevis, which is the highest mountain of
Right.
the UK. Everyone
Yeah.
knows Ben Nevis.
Yeah.
And it is a Munro, so it's above 900 meters. And when you look at it, it actually looks quite like a small mountain,
Yeah.
but
Sorry.
actually it isn't. I'm just standing on a mountain that's 200 meters higher.
Right. Okay.
And this place is a magnificent place. I really like how it tells the story within the little lochans. We call lochans. You could call lakes or rivers. You can see them within the mountains, and the light just really mimics the mountain within the shadow on the right.
Right. I
Um,
love it.
and I just love this image. It's one of my favorite areas. This is a panorama, so I've taken 8 images in a row, and this is what came out of it. My fiance would say more sky. She loves to say more sky always in my images. But for me, it's all about what the mountain is, and the sky had no relevance to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. It has a lot of scree. Also takes about 4 hours to hike too. So you can imagine that every gram matters in this occasion.
Yeah. Apologies if you see my mouse running along the screen, but I've got 2 screens running, you see, and every time it goes. Okay, let's have a quick look, and then we'll get back to some questions, and then
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about conservation in a minute. Is this with the 825? Because you've got an amazing star going on there with the sun.
Yes, you can see that it's just popping in, isn't it? You just know by the sun star which lens it is. 8 to
Yeah.
25, yes. So this place is also quite close to the previous image, literally right next to Ben Nevis, and that's called the Devil's Ridge. And you can probably tell why it's called the Devil's Ridge from how it looks.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful mountain. On the right of it, you have I might be wrong. I think it was Stop Ban. I'm sure it's Stop Ban. And it's like a beautiful ridge hike you can do. Takes also a couple of hours. But what's really nice about this particular mountain range is that the mountain rock type you can really see on the right is really old. It's a really old. So behind this image is Ben Nevis, and that's quite a young volcanic mountain compared to the rest. And yeah, I love the way the story tells that it leads you within the mountain, and the light was amazing. And then you see how the people have trodden through the snow up to the mountain peak. Yeah, yeah, I like this one. It was a beautiful
Beautiful.
moment.
Absolutely beautiful. Gordon, you asked what's your usual gear. Well, it's either an OM3 or an OM5.
Yes,
And generally the F4 lenses, that's the 825 and the 40 to 150 F4.
yes, yeah.
They're both on cashback at the moment, £200 off, and there's £400 off the body, which is always nice. So Gordon, I hope that helps. George says, you say handheld, kneeling or sitting or standing, or is it depending on where you're at and what you're doing?
Yeah, it's case by case a lot of the times. When I can sit, if there's no pointy rocks, I tend to sit. If
Yeah,
there's pointy rocks, like that would be quite painful, I generally kneel down, or I'll just stand up and then just keep the body just low, and you can flip out the screen. So I
that's it.
actually
That's
don't.
how I would use it. Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't have to bend down. So that would be better for your back. Um,
yeah, I love
so yeah,
it.
yeah, that's funny.
Okay, before we go on to the next image, we've got 10 minutes left. I want to talk about conservation. Now, people assume that when we talk about conservation, it's about animals, it's about going to forests and not picking wild flowers. What is conservation when it comes to being on top of the mountains, and how does that all sort of interact with each other? I mean, tell me a bit about that.
Well, if you maybe go to the another image from the Isle of Rum, there's a rock on the left of it and just a crack. Not that one.
Oh, am I going to show everybody these images
Yeah,
before
let's
we've
go that one back. Oh, two
one
back.
back? Let's go back one. Not
Two
that
back.
one. That one.
That one. So this is a very interesting island. This is called the Isle of Rum, which is the best name for an island. Um, and they actually also sell rum from rum.
Oh,
But
okay.
conservation wise, this island is very interesting. So it has one of the biggest population of mink shearwater birds coming on the
Yeah,
island,
I know them.
30%. So they're thinking about 100,000 birds that come on this island. So it's a conservation area which is being protected, meaning also, what impact do we have as landscape photographers or hikers in general? And generally, hiking is an increasing an increasing trend. So there will be also a lot more erosion. There will be a lot more erosion of us walking around, and how do we tackle that? How do we protect the landscape, and
Right.
also how not to litter the landscape. So either you can impress people by photographs, or tell the stories, or do both. You can do conservation through photography. How do we protect this sort of landscape? What we see, as you see in this image, that this island is a volcanic island, and it's almost like it's splitting apart, which it's on a fault line of the island. And it had, like, what it shows in the image is that the land is splitting, and so we have an impact by walking on that. We're And also climate change has a bit of an impact, that there's a lot of erosion happening, and how do we tackle that? And that's either to stick to paths. Paths are created
Right.
to protect the land. um yeah, and then, yeah, education through photographs, I think, is a very important part. Because it's amazing that I go to this location, a photographer, but I wanted to be more than a photograph. I wanted to be
Right.
a story about the island and how we protect it, and how the wildlife is coming there. I When I go camping, I only want to leave footprints
Right.
when I leave again. So
Yeah. Take memories, leave footprints, right? I mean, that's basically what the whole point is. You really take nothing, right? That's the point, is that you leave everything behind, as in what was there, the
yes,
natural stuff, but you take all your human detritus with you, right?
yes.
And I think that's so important. Well, I absolutely agree. Now, apologize for jumping those images. Let's go back to this one. I
Yeah,
love
back to
this.
Glencoe.
This is so cool. I mean, this is the mist in the valley. Wow. When you're above that, that is so amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It was one of those wow moments. So that's the Bucho Etiv Beg. It's the smaller mountain of the two, Bucho Etiv Moor and Bucho Etiv Beg. And yeah, beautiful mountain to hike, and it shows so much history within Glencoe. So the area is called Glencoe. And I found this pillar once that you can see in the image, and I always wanted to try to tell a story with this pillar, how the land is just breaking off during
Right.
the glaciation, and but it didn't really work. So this was really dependent on the conditions. So always I had in my head that it had to be mist. It had to be mist within the valley, but it couldn't be too high, otherwise the mountains will disappear. Couldn't be too low, because otherwise it's just not enough. And this particular day, I hiked 12 o'clock in the morning, well, night. Would you say that? 1 o'clock, just before 1 o'clock in the morning. Arrived at 4 o'clock in the morning and just waited 3 hours in the dark, seeing
Wow.
the sweeping mist going and disappearing and coming back. And it was like a bit of a mind game for me. I was like, oh no, it's disappearing again, and then it came back again. And then the sun was rising, and it just stayed perfectly. And that's what came here. And I love the way it just tells the story of the glaciation, and how the rock has just been pulled away from it.
Mm, mm. Do
So
you
yeah,
get to the point where you're sitting there and you're like, just another 5 minutes, just another 5 minutes, because the sun's going down, and then you've got to hike down in the dark? I mean, or do you just end up staying on the mountain if that's the case?
I tend to stay another 1.5 hour, because I would like to see how the blue hour affects the landscape. And I try to treasure every single minute I'm on there. So I go down when it's pitch black.
Oh my days. Oh my days. That's unbelievable. Wow. If you are enjoying Ben's images, please show Ben some love. It's been a great chat. We have a couple of more images to go. And then we're going to leave on a really thought-provoking question that one of our viewers has popped in the chat. Maybe we should all be asking ourselves that. A couple of things that I haven't done is I haven't put Ben's website on the ticker tape. Ben does workshops, whether you're intermediate, whether you're a beginner, whether you know what you're doing. You can head up to Scotland or other places, but this is where you can find all the information you need to book on Ben's courses. You are in safe hands. And as I said, if you wanted to get some images like this, you certainly won't be going too far wrong. So definitely take a look. It's mountainlandscape.uk, nice and easy. If you are new to our YouTube channel, please give us a little like and subscribe. That's always nice. Let's go back now to the images. Let's move on. I love this. This is quite a famous peak, isn't it?
Actually, no.
Oh.
No, you would think it's the one from Iceland.
Yeah, I am. That's right. It does look similar, doesn't it?
It looks very similar. No, this is the image that we saw when we talked about conservation. This is where I stood on first, looking towards Askival, which is a mountain. And this one is called Hallival. So basically, I've just gone down and slightly up and looking back for sunrise. So that's the mountain peak I slept on for a few nights, and then photographed the area. Again, it's that beautiful geological features within the landscape that is so interesting. So again, it's a volcanic island, and you can probably see and tell from the image that it looks like a volcanic island. You can see the ocean on the side, so you're surrounded by just the sea. And then you have the beautiful rock in front of it. But how do you tell the story of this being a volcanic island? Again, it'd be the light. I always love the first light, how it just hits the rock and turns into red. And I always see that as a bit of like lava streaming through the landscape. And then the mountain peak looks like the wizard's head.
Yes.
Incredible. And then 100,000 birds nest on the island over the season. So just after sunset or an hour before sunrise, all those birds arrive to go to their nests, and they make a lot of noise. So when the Vikings used to be on this island, they used to think there's trolls within the landscape. But no, it was the birds, and they make a lot of noise.
Love it. And what lens? I assume it's the 825 with an OM3 this time, is it?
Yes, OM3 with the 8-25. It's a single image, no focus. Actually, no, sorry, it's not focus stacked, but it is exposure bracketed. So 3 images for the shadows, highlights, and midtone, and then just combined.
And is that the sort of thing you teach on your workshops? You teach about bracketing, you teach about focus stacking, you sort of teach about the features and that you can not only get in OM cameras, but sort of just landscape photography in general. There are sort of certain rules when it comes to landscape. You can almost break those rules with OM system though, can't you? Because of the high res and the focus stacking.
It's actually, I always say that the OMSYSTEM.Cameras are just like a cheat camera. Like, it's just easy, and that's what I want. I don't want the faff. I just want to press the button. Again, it's handheld, and that's it. Just take the photo and enjoy the moment.
Just to let you know, the website is down at the moment. It's having maintenance. We had an email earlier to say it's sort of a few hours. So I imagine it overnight, it will be back up. If it's not in this evening, it will certainly be within the next few hours. Apologies for that. As I said, it's typical that the day I'd just sort of done a live stream we're going to have, but the link will still be there. And as I said, you can use that. Okay, we're down to the last couple of images and we're right on time. So tell me about this one.
So this is the place also in Torridon. The mountain we're looking at is Liatach, and it's a beautiful mountain. You can see it's almost like it has a crown, and it's like a jewel mountain.
It's unbelievable.
It's an amazing mountain, and is part of Torridonian sandstone, so that's all around the mountain and Torridonian sandstone. And this particular part is the older rock lying on top of newer rock. So it's quite interesting because normally you would think that new rock, new layers on top of old, but
Right.
this has been shifted and landed on top of it. And if you look within the mountain itself, you can really see the lines that have been created by the movements, and around it's all beautiful seabeds. All
I
used to be
know.
moved
You
by the
can
water.
see the seabed from here. You totally can see where a glacier would have been or the sea before would have been. I mean, it is so amazing to look at the structure. You can really see the structure and the layout from this image.
I always see it as a boat. It's just like a boat sitting in its water.
Yeah, I love it.
And just
Absolutely love it.
anchoring. And it was a long. It's quite a tough hike. This is all very rocky. You need to be very prepared, like having the right boots and making sure that you don't fall there, and also make sure you let everyone know where you are.
Yeah.
Making a high description of where you're going to go, which times, and just in case, because on this occasion I was with someone else. But if I'm alone, I need to let someone know where I am.
That's true. That's true. Okay, we are nearly running over. So I'm going to make this our last image. And then I'm going to leave a question for everybody to even think about.
Yeah.
Tell us about this image. This is an ICM, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, this is
And
ICM.
beautiful as well. I mean, ICMs can be really artistic. They can be to the point where you don't know what the image is, but this is absolutely gorgeous. Tell us about this image.
This is a beautiful island called Harris, and it's connected to the Isle of Lewis. And reason why I want to put this photograph out there is that you don't always have to go to the mountaintops to photograph the landscapes. Obviously, I see all the dramatic parts from the top. But on this occasion, there's a few people that inspire me to try ICM, and it just really works with the ocean and the mountain distance and the dunes in front of it. And yeah, I was just practicing, and what I like about the cameras, the OM5 and the OM3, and I haven't used OM1 myself, but it will be in the future, is that I like the ND filters that you can, smoothen the waters out, long exposures, and, just really try something different. And that's what I did here. It's a very different photograph to all my other mountain photos, but equally beautiful and artistic, I think. I really like how the ND filter made the effect of this.
I love it. It's wonderful. Well, we've run over. I knew we would, and we didn't get to the last images. I knew we'd do that as well. Before we go, I'm just going to remove that. Do I know what I'm doing? Yes, I know what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Interesting question from Tiger. What impact do you think the photographs you have take on viewers? And overall, what do you want to convey in your photos? Well, I think I think Ben's already answered that. I think Ben's answered the fact that, it isn't just about taking the photo. It's about being in the moment. It's about engrossing yourself in our beautiful world, our beautiful natural landscapes that we have all around us, whether it's mountains or beaches or your local park. It's so important to get out. It's so important to take in fresh air and be outdoors. I think we can be so tied up in our busy little lives, running from house to house or whatever. And I think being outdoors is so important for the mental health. I think, guys, you already know that. So it's a really good thought to leave you on. But what I want everyone to see is I want everyone to see your view. Before we go, I want you to swing the camera around and show everybody where you are in this moment in time. If you can see that, guys, look at this. Look at this. What a backdrop. If you're going to be anywhere, look at that. That is absolutely fantastic. Thanks for that. Right, Ben, back to you. Lovely. Honestly, I've had an amazing time. Thank you so much for joining us. You've been an absolute star. I really appreciate your time, and no doubt I'll be seeing you again soon. If you want to join any of Ben's Instagram or his workshops, I've put them up quickly again on the screen for the last time. You can always go back and rewatch it. It's going to be on YouTube now forever and ever. As I said, if you like our channel, please like and subscribe. Keep your eye on the promotions. As I said, there's £400 off of the OM1 Mark II, and there's hundreds of pounds off the lenses. There's about 11 products in that cashback, and that's only got, it's only got a couple of more weeks yet, but not too long on it. So make sure if you're going to treat yourself to a beautiful landscape lens, the 825 is on there if that's what you fancy and getting for yourself. That's it from me. Thank you so much for everybody to join us. I'll be back again in the next few weeks, and it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Ben.
Yeah, thank you for having me,
Ben.
and thanks for watching.
See you again. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. Okay, guys. Well, good night, and we'll see you again. I'm just going to do this outro video. See you soon.